You're watching Well Traveled Life with Jonathan and Jennifer, and we are in Eidfjord, Norway. Come along with us for cold waters, a great hike, good views, and an awesome seaplane ride. This is the first video in our series on Norway, where we will go all the way from Oslo in the south to Honningsvøy and the North Cape. And on this trip, we have a guest with us, Delphine, our friend from France who you may have met in Cherbourg, will be joining us for the entire trip. We thank her for her footage and her friendship. In the southwestern part of Norway, Eidfjord sits right at the end of the Hardangerfjord, and it's just a little bit east of Bergen. Like most of Norway, the weather can change dramatically in just a short bit of time. We were there for a couple of days, and so we used the sun to our advantage, and that's when we went hiking and we took a seaplane ride with amazing views by waterfalls and over a glacier throughout the fjord. And when it was a little less nice, a little cooler, we did a really great forest hike and took advantage of the moody weather. If you are arriving in Eidfjord by cruise ship, you may either be docking or tendering. We were fortunate and we were able to dock, which gave us really easy access to the pier. But even if you tender, you are not far at all from the pier and it won't take long. Right at the pier, there is a tourist information office where you can book tours, get information, and ask questions. But beware, those lines are long for the first hour after you get off the ship. With a population of just 1,000 people, this isn't a large town, but you will find shops, cafes, a really nice community center, and a central plaza. If you go past the tourist information area and take a left up the hill, you'll be in town and at the plaza. From there, you can turn right and head up the river with the water on your left and go over the bridge to your right, and you'll go to the old church built in the 1300s and featuring walls that are 5 feet thick in places. See a residential area and a school, and there's a really nice forest area that you can take a path and walk through. Next to the old church is the Trebua, which also contains the Vøringsfossen Museum, which pays homage to an artist who made and decorated fiddles. It's a beautiful collection, but you do need to pay to enter. If you take the road to the left past the school, you'll run into a path that will take you through the forest and a ropes course. While walking through this area, we found wild berries, ferns, mosses, huge boulders, and some cliffs, so be careful. Delphine and I spent about an hour exploring the forest and its myriad creatures. In sunnier weather and with clear skies, Jonathan and I took a walk along the other side of the river. To get here, you will leave the visitor center, go left across the bridge, crossing over to the opposite side of the river, and then follow the road up with the water on your right, and it will turn into a path that takes you along the river's edge to a beautiful lake. The walk to the lake takes about 25 minutes and in general is a relatively flat, slow climb. The lake has a large sandy beach and is great for swimming. Along the way, you'll see the large swaths of gray slag rock that has fallen down and is evidence of avalanches that have taken out trees and left scars on the mountains. On the trail to the lake, you will find benches and other amenities.
Those Norwegians, they think of everything.
Once you get to the lake, enjoy the views and a dip. When you're ready to continue, you can either backtrack and head back into town the way that you came, or you can take a loop trail that will be a total of about 3.5 miles, just a little bit less than that. and includes a relatively steep climb up from the lake to the Hardanger burial sites, which is a large plateau and includes over 350 burial sites from the Iron Age.
These burial mounds date back at least 1,000 years ago, maybe as much as 2,500 years ago. They have found swords and stones and bowls, as well as bones. So in these burial fields, you're going to find mounds. Some are quite large and covered with rocks, so easy to see. And others are a little more subtle, but they're definitely mounds, and they may have canes on top of them or something like that to mark them. But these go back to the Iron Age and tell an incredible Viking story.
Continuing along the path, you will wind through the farms that are up on this high plateau and in the shadow of these tremendous rock walls. And you'll wind your way back down to a viewpoint where you can get a wonderful vista of the fjord below, and then come down a road that will bring you back to the coast of the fjord and into the center of town. Another option is to start in town, and instead of going right and following the river up, you can actually turn left from town, follow the fjord, and go up the hill to the viewpoint and just go that far, or do the whole loop in reverse. Whichever direction you go, just follow the yellow markings on the light poles and the trees. If you aren't in for hiking, there's another option. There is a troll train that will take you along the trail all the way up to the burial grounds and back down again.
This is a busy harbor with lots going on. There are kayak trips, there are rib boats, ferries, and of course you've got a cruise ship or two.
If you'd like to see Eidfjord from a different view, there's a couple of options. There are rental cars right at the port that you can rent for a half day or a full day, and they will give you a map and directions about where to go and how long it will take to get to all of the things that you want to see. You can also do kayak trips, rib boat tours, or get a seaplane tour. I'll add links to the tour operators in the description.
In Eidfjord, it's all about the weather. When you have clear skies, you've got so many more options. And because you don't always have that, you want to take advantage of it. So whether you're going on a seaplane, going kayaking, walking out to a lake, or taking a hike, look for those blue skies.
You can book a seaplane directly through your cruise ship, but we used the same company and booked separately on our own. You will have to pay a fee to get picked up from the cruise ship, or it's a relatively short walk to get over to where the seaplane will take off from. You'll leave the Visitors Information Center, follow the path around to the right. You'll pass a little bit of a marina and keep going around. You'll see the seaplane coming in and landing, and you'll know where to go. The walk took us about 20 minutes. As long as you plan for it, it's no problem. You just need to check your ship's time so that you'll have time to get there and get back. There aren't generally taxis, so you'll need to make that trip on your own, unless you pay the company to come pick you up ahead of time. Just make sure you know where to meet them. They usually pick you up in front of the visitor center and will bring you back there at the end of your seaplane ride. We also noticed that the cruise ship had a weight limit so that they could fit more people in the seaplane, and we're kind of big. That was an issue for us. So when I booked privately, we were able to do it without that weight limit, and it was just the three of us in the airplane. So that actually worked out to our advantage in a really great way. Not only did we get a less expensive flight, we got a flight at the time that we wanted, and we didn't have a weight limit, which meant that it was a private flight for us. On our trip, we had a really cloudy morning, but by the afternoon, the clouds had burned off and cleared up enough that we could get up over the Hardangerfjord and into the glacial area. You get up into these mountains with these phenomenal crevices and canyons and fjord areas. waterfalls. Obviously, there was snow. We found these incredible still water glacial lakes. And then we were able to see the glacier itself. The entire trip lasted about 20 minutes. Our pilot is exceptional. Ours was from Sweden. He just did a great job of taking us to the places that we would want to see from that bird's eye view. It really was a spectacular trip. Coming around these rocky cliff faces and finding these plateau mountaintop farms where people are still living and working the land, understanding that they are commuting daily to schools by hiking down the mountain, just goes to show you how different life in Norway is. If you can see a fjord from a flight, it's a completely different view. We were fortunate in Eidfjord to get views from the fjord from the water, from the sky, and from the land. If you are arriving or leaving Eidfjord by cruise ship, any other kind of a ferry or boat, you want to take the opportunity to be out on deck as much as you can. All the way down the Hardangerfjord, you're going to have tremendous sights. Eidfjord is the gateway to the Hardangerfjord National Park, which is the largest national park in Norway, and where you would find the Vøringsfossen Falls and a glacier. You've also got the Hardanger Bridge. At 4,530 feet, it is the longest bridge in Norway. It is also a height of just 660 feet. If you're on a cruise ship, there's a good chance your ship will have to modify its height so that it can fit under the bridge. Our ship had to take down a light in order to get under, with a clearance of just about 1.5 meters. Thanks for joining us as we begin this series in Norway. We have more fjords, more villages, and more cities along the coast of the western and northern tip of Norway. Stick around for more.